Hi, Peter. Thanks for joining me.
Good to see you, Steve.
Well, it's good to have you. We're talking about a topic, not necessarily a whole lot of good about this topic, but you and I definitely have some strong opinions, and that's San Francisco has the worst real estate outlook in the country, is kind of the headline we're talking about here. A study released this month from Capital Economics found that San Francisco has the poorest outlook. The firm forecasts that San Francisco properties will decline in value by 40 to 45% between 23 and 25. Another research paper estimated 32.7 billion in lost value for San Francisco between 2019 and 2022. The vacancy rate right now is 31.8%. Preliminary office vacancy rate for the second quarter of 2023 in San Francisco. That's according to CBRE. Um, and then we've also got return to office. Um, the weekly office attendance is at about 45.5% based on key card data. That's been running pretty consistently below 50% since the pandemics. Um, and Yeah, and then also with a wide variance in days of the week. For instance, occupancy on a Friday sat at 28.1%, whereas Wednesday actually managed to crack above 50 at 58.6%. But these are all pretty horrible numbers. Um, I've got my opinions about why this is happening, what the outlook is, but let's open it up to a few of your thoughts too, which and we're probably on the same page in a lot of this.
Yeah, and hearing you recite those statistics, Steve, reminds me of when I was getting out of school, out of college. Um, San Francisco was rated as usually number one uh, sought after city for college kids to gain
It's
employment.
beautiful city. You can't argue with the beauty of it.
Yeah, beauty and attractive and had everything going for it and would what a wonderful place to live and work. Number one in the country. Well, uh, I think their star has fallen, and I think they did it to themselves. And by the way, I'm not surprised, and I don't think recovery. There's no recovery plan. There, the, there's no recovery plan, and could they ever get one that would work, that would pass? And I don't think so.
I think right
And
now they're struggling with the old adage: when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. I'm not sure they've even put the shovel down yet in San Francisco. And let's just kind of talk a little bit about where we agree here. There's a lot of talk about, San Francisco being hurt by tech. There's some truth to that, and it had a larger share of startups. There's some talk about remote work hurting San Francisco, and there's some truth to that, especially with the tech and the office vacancy. But where you and I are both on the same page is there's other areas that had these things, and they're not getting hurt. Other parts of Silicon Valley that aren't getting hurt like this. That really what stands out about San Francisco is the quality of life, the public policies that have been employed, and that when people with capital and business with capital have to live somewhere where there's high crime rates, so high that people don't even bother reporting to the police anymore, when there's hypodermic needles on the ground, and you can just move to Palo Alto or move to Austin, or they've moved. And if you don't fix those problems, if you don't have a higher quality of life, why would they come back?
that's exactly right. Why would they stay? Why would they come back? And and so to me, what's it going to take to fix those problems? It's not going to happen. It can you've got to get newly elected people who believe in having a clean city, clean of crime, clean of grime, clean of homeless, and clean of vagrancy. And there's just not the politicians in San Francisco are going in the opposite direction, which is bring in the people who can't support themselves and put them on the streets, and the city will supply some support for them. Well, that's where they are today. That's where they're continuing to go. Um, so I
Something,
don't see it.
yeah, something I would add there, just to kind of support your point is, as a Silicon Valley resident, kind of watching this happen to really what I think is one of the most beautiful cities. on the planet. It's a tragedy. I guess, well, a tragedy is something bad like a natural disaster. This is a natural disaster. This is self-inflicted, so I'm not sure what you could call that. Um, but after they voted out the last DA, the one who was actively not prosecuting any criminals, um, I was kind of interested because it wasn't a blowout. A lot of people kept, voted to, keep them there. And then I looked it up, and what I found was it was largely the folks in the hills where property values have kind of held up that voted to keep them, and the folks in the flats, including, around the business districts that voted to get rid of them. And I think what you find is that a lot of this crime, the people don't want to hike up in the hills. So a lot of the voters are just unaffected. They're part of San Francisco actually is fairly clean and fairly safe. I mean, to a degree, most of this is disproportionately affecting the areas that are more flat, including where the business district is, where the downtown is, and that's for people not familiar with California. We passed a law that basically decriminalized shoplifting. I think it's like below $950 or whatnot. It's a misdemeanor, not really even worth doing anything. So in those flat areas, whether it's a Walgreens or a Target or whatnot, the shoplifting is just out of control, and that's why we've seen, well, one of the reasons we saw that San Francisco was biggest mall basically closed down. We've also seen two of the biggest hotels effectively hand the keys back to the bankers.
Yeah.
This isn't just an office problem, but it is a problem that hasn't affected a lot of the residents who live in nice places in higher elevations that much. And for that reason, I don't know if they're going to change their voting. They're not getting affected by it enough. So I'm worried you're right. I'm worried they're not going to change and this problem is going to keep on going.
Yes, it is a question. So, what would it take? And so, it's a leadership question, and as to whether leadership can come to the front. Um, and you're right; they have to be affected. Well, sooner or later, they will be. Um, it may not have happened now, so they may be safe and secure. Although a very good friend of mine who lives across the street from a senior senator from the state of California in one of the wealthiest sections of San Francisco was robbed at gunpoint as he got out of his car to walk into his house with a gun to his head. Um, Maybe it takes more of that happening before it wakes up the people.
Well, we
Uh,
certainly saw, right, the Speaker of the House, her husband have an instance. So that's pretty scary, though, when we're saying the bright spot here is it might get bad enough for the people in the nice neighborhoods that they'll change their voting habits. That's a pretty scary prognosis.
it
That's the
is.
good news.
That's not the way you'd like to see legislation happen or change.
No, but I think we're in agreement here that this is not just a remote work issue. This is not just a tech issue. This is, not just even an office issue. Nor is this just a urban cores are having some issues as millennials move to the suburbs for, family formation. Certainly all those trends may be playing at this, but San Francisco is uniquely having a challenge, and I think it's because some of San Francisco's public policies are uniquely bad.
That's right. It is that absolutely the public policies. Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, Peter. Hopefully they'll listen to us.
That's right. Thank you, Steve.